תודה.
במשלי יש
מה הייתה הדאגה הראשונה
It's okay, we stop and now I answer question? Super.
Okay.
So we were wondering if you actually you just allow the patient to choose any worry that they want and stick with it as opposed to going to the worst case scenario worry.
I choose the worry.
And which one?
Now, beware, what we've done so far is no worry exposure. That's what we're going to do after lunch. This is preparation for worry exposure. I have this plateau and I choose. I take the worry I think that I can put into a nice, scary picture. And admittedly, I do not choose already the worst one. Imagine your child dying, because then I will get into so much discussion with them that you cannot imagine that it might happen. Don't go there. Take something nasty, but not the worst. So being ill is great, being homeless is great, financial ruin, your wife telling you she's going to leave you, your child in hospital but alive but sick, all wonderful pictures. And I choose. I'm the architect of it, regisseur. Huh? That's one of my tricks. And no, the direction should be clear to you, as it is unfortunately also for the patient. In the end, usually the worst thing to imagine is someone dying. It's mostly your children, doesn't have to be. But yeah, that is a worry exposure you will have to do, because you cannot avoid the worst one because you think it's too bad. Because then you are with your patient. There are things that are so bad that I can't think them. That's why they worry, so that they don't get deep. You cannot do the same. If you are afraid to do worry exposure where a child dies, probably you should do applied relaxation. Please do not do an exposure and do it half. If you get into exposure, do it right. And doing right means also do the really nasty stuff, but not with the first one and not here with the example. Because otherwise you believe it, the same as the patient believes. You believe some things are unthinkable. And something else that's very important, make sure it's all imagination. I'm not talking about that you will easily get over if your child would really die. But you can think about your child dying without harming yourself or your child. That's the point with exposure. But just to make it clear, because some people get confused. You know, if my child would die, I would go crazy. I say, no, if you would imagine it, or if you would imagine things. This is an important distinction. It's all, what we are talking about is that you can think whatever you want. And that's different from you have to experience everything bad in your life.
But also we as therapists, we have the magic thinking that we are afraid of to expose ourselves.
Yeah.
So I think this might prevent us from doing, for example, this example, which is the most difficult for all of us.
Yeah. It's certainly empathy. I mean, I'm a mother, I have 2 children. It's nothing I want to do. Luckily, most of the time I don't worry about them. I also don't track them. So that's fine, but I do really feel empathy. It's totally, also for me, it would be totally aversive to really imagine one of my children dying. But doing this will neither, as an OCD, make it more likely that it will die. It will also not harm me. It's just unpleasant, and that's what you want to teach them. It's just unpleasant. It's an experience. It's not worth fighting all the time to think around it and around it and around it and around it. You have to stop this mechanism and go to the kill. But in the end, I rather prefer, if you're afraid to think about certain things with your patients, that you choose another strategy, and that for me would be applied relaxation than doing a bed exposure. Exposure is a very powerful tool. You should make use of it, but you cannot if you also think some things are undoable. And that's also true for panic. So I was asked if I'm afraid that they will die. No, I'm not afraid my panic patients will die. If they are really anxious, I might still make them hyperventilate. I might make it worse because I think they will survive. And I will do that scenario where someone dies, because I know that's what is usually the highest on the list. That will be one of the things I will expose them to later on, with preparation and some experience on their side, you know, not right away. Okay, thanks. Other questions or things you got stuck in or that are still? Everyone is probably hungry. I have a hard time to believe that you had no problems, but maybe I underestimate you. Then I would propose that we go for lunch, and then I give you another chance to ask questions when we start back again. Danny, how long is the break? 45 minutes. 45 minutes break.